nearly 300 chapters into this series, and we're finally getting some good Aesir flashback content, some good information on what put Aesir at that level, what like made Aesir so strong. I mean, we only get some moments of it, but getting a glimpse into her capability is something that a lot of people have been asking for. I mean, since we got like a lot of the hype around her, like we knew that she was going to be strong, but Marileona obviously set a big bar for her. Granted, it was a younger Marileona, but Tabata as well, having like hyped up her level of mana to be like comparable to Julia's. Maybe not like a 1-for-1, but within the same, kind of like the same horizon as something like the E could do. So Noelle has always like had that extra hype push, the fact that that's her mom, and we didn't see like a ton of it in the flashback. It was more of like a couple moments into the fight, and then where Vanek had kind of cheated to turn the tables, trying to take a young Nozel and a baby Noelle hostage, and in that moment she gets a really good strike in. You gotta give her that. That's like one thing. This is still somebody that is amped by a very high level devil, like, you know, one of the top that we're aware of, you know, of this like supreme class with Megicula. And on top of that, Megicula's got one of the best magics, I'd say, out of the devils. I think at least out of what we've seen so far, the only devil that has an outright better magic, I'd say, is Zagrid, because Lucifaro is stronger, but there's clearly way more like utility and just way more you can do with curse warding magic than gravity magic. At least from what we've seen. Like, gravity's still really powerful, but look at everything that we've seen with curse stuff. Like, you can have minions that you can pretty much revive. You could just have your, your legion, your little group of fodder, be like, I guess they're fodder to her, but you know what I mean? Like, your minions, essentially, it's like, yeah, you go down, I'll just bring you back up. As long as I'm good, then you're good. And if she really wants to, she can make them explode. So, like, curse warding magic just has a lot of uses, and then like just the base idea of like what curses do when they put like dampening effects on people, put like detrimental curses onto a character. That's obviously going to, like, that's going to be a big hindrance on them. So I think combined with everything, when you look at it, it's more of like a hack than just like an outright like damaging power. But on top of that, like, she still has a devil's level of mana, like a very high level one as well. So I would like to believe that if we got like a much further look into the fight of Vanica versus Aesir, that it would have kind of like moments when we saw Yami versus Dante, where there were multiple occurrences where if Dante didn't have the devil increase, then Yami would have killed him. It was like come down to like the advancement of his body magic and the regeneration with it, as well as his level of mana that he can put into it because of having Lucifaro's mana kind of coupled with it. So with blood magic, I would assume like healing isn't like, she should be able to heal. We've seen like her take wounds and like she doesn't just die from them, so it's clear that she can heal. But plus we've seen blood healing magic already from the Witch Queen. It doesn't have to be nearly as I would say like at the time, it doesn't have to be nearly as, like, capable as, like, the Witch Queens. Like, she took a fatal wound and had to leave. But I would imagine she could still heal herself. So, like, say she's fighting Aesir, and Aesir keeps landing attacks, but because she doesn't have the means to either take down a devil-possessed person, or it's just, like, a power matchup, that's probably more of, like, what happened with Aesir and Vanica. Because in reality, you restrict Dante's level of regeneration, Yami would have beat him pretty easy. Like, pretty easily, he was a better fighter, he brought more heavy attacks to the table, because it's not like Dante doesn't have his own dangerous moves. I mean, look at Singularity. Granted, that is one from Lucifaro's side, but it's still something he could do. He didn't, like, show up in the fight dropping stuff like Dimension Slash. Like, Yami came in there full intent to kill from the start, whereas Dante needed to get pushed to do it. Regardless of which, it was clear there were multiple points where he could have killed him, and I'd be willing to bet that Vanica had multiple scenarios where she would have died if it wasn't for Megicula's like increasing of her blood magic as well as her her outright mana pool. If we ever get more insight into that fight, I'd be willing to bet that's what the case was. because it didn't seem like she was just outright stronger than her. Like we see when she goes to attack, Vonica, that she like straight up like covers range almost immediately, stabs a big hole through her chest, and she has to retreat. She pretty much just gets a curse off and leaves. And if it was at a point where, oh, she got this extremely detrimental curse off on her, but she can, she took damage, but I fully believe that it's clear that at that moment, like, she could still fight. Like, Aesir was cursed, but she could still fight, whereas Vonica was just like, I need to leave, or I'm gonna go, or I'm gonna die, essentially. And it wasn't entirely her, it was Megicula, and I feel like Megicula would be way more intelligent over that, and being like, yeah, you need to move. You need to get out of this area before you wind up dead. So, if say that the fight continued, I would bet that Aesir would have won, but she would have still been affected by the curse. It's kind of like, it'd kind of be like a suicide attack, where it's like a guy poisons the other dude in the end, where it's like, you still defeat him, but you're gonna die of, whatever causes moments after from this opponent. It's more like you just got the win in before the countdown of whatever they did to you. Luckily for Aesir, she had way more time than just, being regular poison that Curse gave her. Actually, was there I was gonna give it, like, an estimate of time, but, like, I don't think we have a timeline of, like, Aesir gets cursed, X amount of months later she dies. I might have to ask some people with that, because that's actually something I never thought too much about, is, like, how long she had to live after getting cursed. I know she went back to, like, she just pretty much was staying in bed, and there were times where, like, I think Marileona met her. But other than that, I don't really get it. There was a point also from Vonica, where Vonica was saying how, like, when she went up to Nozel, it's like, why would you have any kids? They just kind of, like, they slow you down and they drain your energy and stuff. But it's like, wouldn't you want to eventually kind of, like, hone your, like, if your whole thing was strength above all else and just, like, fighting the better people, if you essentially were Goku but a bad guy, wouldn't you want to breed, like, opponents? If, like, you're already strong, whoever you make is going to be stronger, and you can kind of raise them up to be opponents. Kind of like what Baki's dad did. Like, you'd think Vonica would do that, because a Vonica offspring, we don't know what it would be like, what having a devil-possessed parent would be like. Like, if somebody is born, like, say Vonica has a kid with somebody, would her kid, like, whatever their attribute be, influenced also by the devil attribute that is aligned with her? Because I wish we had, like, a Black Clover genealogy class where it's just like, oh yeah, if like somebody like Soul, like a Soul, I know Soul and Magna is, like, a popular shit for some reason. But it's like, say Soul and Magna had a kid. You have Earth magic and you have Fire magic. Combine them and they have, like, a Lava magic offspring. Something like that, or would it just be, like, Fire and Earth, or would it be some variant in a different direction? You know what I mean? Where it's like, what do the parents' magics, like, where do they come into play when it comes to what type of magic their offspring has? Because you can look, for example, you look at the Silvas. You have Noel, Nibra, and Solid all have a water-based magic, seemingly from their dad, whereas Nozel has Mercury magic, which is based from his mom's steel magic. So it's set in a way that it's understandable to a degree, but it's not, like, one for one. So it's like, if Vonica had a kid with somebody, would it have blood and curse warning magic influenced in, like, their magic affinity and whatever their magic sign was? That would be really cool. So Vonica, somebody needs to talk to Vonica, and maybe not, like, try and convince her the idea from, like, a parent standpoint of, like, having kids, but maybe just compare it to her standpoint. Because that would be such a crazy twist if Vonica lives and then she's like, maybe Aesir was right, and decides to have her own, like, weird devil-induced baby. I don't really know. It would be such a weird turn, but it would line up if Tabata wants to do more with Vonica. It's kind of like if he wants to do more with Dante, I think he needs to do something kind of, like, crazy based off of Dante's defeats. Like, it's in possibility of what would make sense to a degree. If the bottle really wanted to like take these characters and go a while with them, where are they going to progress? If you could get something like that from Monica, I think that would be insane. It'd be really evil too. I think that would fit with her, because she definitely, I'd say, out of the three of them, seems like the most. Does seem the most evil, least out of the Dark Triad. Whereas like Dante is like he's like more chill, but he's kind of crazy. Like there's a layer of crazy underneath. Xenon has like a switch that seems to just at some point it flips and he goes from emotionless to like this weird sadistical serial killer looking guy, whereas Vonica just seems to be kind of crazy all the time. The only, like, even when she's not interested in somebody, you just see like that personality switch, and she has that real dark response to people that she doesn't have any interest in. Like she seems the most crazy. But the Aesir stuff I did like. I liked the Aesir flashback. I really liked that Nozel was in it. I would say that I know some people are more for Noelle getting a singular fight and getting kind of a 1v1 match with Vonica, and I can understand why. But I think a lot of the idea of a 1v1 match for Vonica stems from the idea of Noelle getting stuff to kind of like stack up with Asta and Yuno, but also getting her revenge for what happened to the Heart Kingdom and stuff. But the thing is, when it comes to like her fighting up with Yuno and Asta level people, she could easily do that later in the arc with just like a higher level of devil or more powerful opponent. From the standpoint of her 1v wanting to get revenge for what happened in the Heart Kingdom, I can understand that, but I don't think that outweighs Nozel's reason to be there, because Nozel has the most personal reason to be at that fight. Out of all the fights right now, he has the most personal reason. Because when it comes to Asta didn't know his mom, and though I'm willing to bet he's going to care when he gets the story from Li Bei, and if he's already told the story to him, I'm sure that he was a very caring and understanding person about it. This is how Asta is, especially when he finds out it was his mom. Yuno doesn't have as much care over the Spade Kingdom's past. I'm sure if he meets his mom or like learns about his dad in more depth, he would probably care a little bit. Noelle clearly cares, but the difference between all of them and Nozel is Nozel was there. Nozel was present, and he wasn't like, this wasn't him, oh yeah, I was there at age 5, or it's a hazy memory. There's a point where before Noelle is born, when we still see a pregnant Aesir, that it's like, oh, next year you're gonna get your grimoire. So Nozel has to be like, what, like I think is it 15 to get your grimoire? So he had to be 14, 15 at the time because Noelle was born. So this isn't something that is going to be so early in his life that it's like hazy. This is him in his teens. He's going to remember this. This is somebody murdering his mom essentially in front of him. She puts the like she's very much attacking him. At some point, like gets in a spot where he almost dies, and then sees his mom get cursed and have to slowly watch her die. Like it's definitely a very threatening position to be in all aspects, because it was personal and a moment of weakness for him, but also obviously connecting to his mom. I don't think that Nozel can be skipped out of this fight. Like, if Nozel shows up to join in the fight, all Noelle really loses is like a 1v1 fight. She can easily get one later. She can get more fight content as things progress. But her more personal, emotional attachment to like why it should be like a 1v1 match doesn't outweigh Nozel's, and Nozel doesn't get another chance at this. This is the person that killed his mom, and I think that he absolutely needs to be present for it, because this is one of those this is a character opportunity that either Tabata has to have him there for, or he has to have a really good reason as to why he's not there. I'll give a quick example. Mild spoilers for those who don't read Eden Zero. It's not much. I'll make it vague. There's a character who is tied to this guy's backstory, and it's in a similar manner of like you would expect this guy to be defeated by the guy who is part of his backstory that he did a lot of bad things to, and he's not involved in that at all. Other people, still people that are adjacent to this guy, because this guy affected multiple people. They defeated that guy. It's unknown if he's dead or what, But instead of it being like this guy is more revenge setup, it was done more in like, it was done more to kind of like bond the main cast. And, you know, like the guy who defeated this other dude was like, you know, they're having some kind of like guy talk to talk, and then obviously like having a really emotional moment from this dude. It was done more in a way where it's like, you don't have to, you know, to deal with this, you know, we got your back kind of thing. But I still wanted to tell you about it. I don't think that would work the same for Nozel, considering Noelle is in the fight. And it would be really weird to skip over for Nozel's character, given that's relatively the only thing that he's got going on. Whereas, like, in Eden Zero, part of the way it was used in the plot was to connect this character to the main cast and whatnot. We don't have that with with Nozel. This is a setup for him to get revenge, and not just like, oh yeah, revenge for some guy who wronged me. It's like, no, this guy killed his mom, or this, I guess, woman in Monica's case, but no, Monica led to the death of his mom. He absolutely deserves revenge. But we'll see how exactly that goes. The next couple chapters are going to be crucial. We got chapter 300 coming up, only a couple chapters away. I don't think Monica's defeated. I'm pretty sure that she's going to get, like, the work done pretty good, and then Noelle is going to pop out of her spirit dive, and that's when Nozelle's going to show up, and it's going to be like, I can see the fight going to where it sets up, like, Nozel and Noelle work together, Nozel sets her up, and then she uses her ultimate magic. That's what I'm hoping. And it's done in a way that you can say it's a little bit predictable if it gets to that point. I mean, I guess it's not that predictable, because I'm looking at multiple things. Like, predictable would just be like Noelle just completely bodies him, and bodies her, and there's nothing to go. But I think it would be better for like a team setup, because we didn't really get that with the fight with Kivin. It was way more of a Noelle fight. I'm hoping that if we're gonna have Nozel show up for the Vonica fight, it is way more focused on being a team fight. I think that would be better for character content as a whole, and Noelle could easily get like fighting and feat stuff from just later opponents. This is more of a... It's one of the reasons why I thought Vonica would be saved for last of the Arc Triad, with Dante defeated first, is that she has the most emotional value of any of the characters. For any of the characters to defeat, she has the highest level. Whereas, like, I see Yuno defeating Xenon and having some kind of, like, more of, like, a cool, cold defeat kind of line, being a bit more badass, whereas, like, for Nozel especially, defeating Vonica would feel like such a wave of relief. It would probably make him so happy to know that the person who killed his mom has finally been dealt with. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but for the like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But I appreciate it. Subscribe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.